Coming up tonight, they are amongst the brightest and best young Bahamians in the country. Many of them coming from difficult circumstances and environments, yet rising to the top in education despite it all. They are what's right about our country, and tonight, the females tell their stories of success in education and the opportunity to have free college education. Beyond the Headline starts now. Female power dominating as the latest group of scholars share their inspiring stories of overcoming adversity and beating the odds. Good evening, everyone. I'm Clint Watson. Welcome to the show. Well, for some, it may come as a natural thing, but for others, becoming a high achiever is a ticket out of challenging circumstances and a life of struggle and issues. For many students in the public school system, their stories of success are different, but they all have a common thread: the press to want to secure a better life. Well, it's that kind of strength and tenacity that propels them to a place of excellence and high performance. The last time we were here, we heard the inspiring stories of the brothers. Take a look.
Brenton DeVoe and Treventi Bain, both 17, have been given scholarships to the colleges of their choice. The young men both attend Mount Carmel Preparatory Academy, and this year, all 26 students in their graduating class were accepted into college, and half have been offered.
Growing up wasn't a walk in the park for me. I grew up in Camp Road, which most people refer to as the ghetto. My father was involved in some illegal business, causing our door to be kicked down many nights by the police and me being interrogated by them. But I never let that affect the purpose of my life. Even though my father did bad things, I never once looked at him as if he was a bad person. And he would always say to me, "Short man, never be like me when you grow up." My father was trying to make a living, and I know what he was doing was wrong. Therefore, I made it my goal. To find another way, which was through education. He wanted me to be a lawyer, but my passion lied within numbers. That's why I selected finance as my major. My father was like my best friend. It is often said, all good things come to an end, and in this case, it was my father's life. On June 1st, 2013, around 10 p.m., about 9 gunshots went off, 8 hitting my dad and 1 entering the house. My father was murdered right on my doorstep. Could you imagine your best friend being shot right in front of you? Watching him take his last breath left me heartbroken and scarred. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I remember his lifeless body just lying there. I often had thoughts about dropping out of school or even doing drugs to calm my nerves. But his voice kept playing in my head. "Short man, never be like me when you grow up." These words motivated me to be strong for my mommy and my brother, to strive for excellence, and to do my best. Now that same boy from Camp Road, who's going to be just like his dad, as they once said, graduated valedictorian from his high school, will be the first person in his immediate family to go to college and is a 2018 public school scholar. By God's grace, I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me. It isn't where you start, but it's where you end. So I'd like to thank Mr. Hinsey, Ministry of Education, for awarding me with this scholarship. It means so much to me. Look forward to hearing great things about me, and God's willing, you all are invited to my graduation in 2022 from Central State University. Thank you.
Well, tonight we have a panel of female scholars tonight. You're going to meet 4 of them on this show. The first 2, please welcome Adrienne Dantley and Darrenique Miller. Adrienne and Darrenique, welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Good to be
Yes,
here.
it's a pleasure.
So we often expect, when you talk about scholars, you expect the females to dominate, and you expect them to always obviously be out front because that's what's been a common trend in our country. But you all, I'm sure, have a story of success. And let's start with you, Adrian. Was it always the head of the class for you throughout school?
No, sir, it was not.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about your story.
My story, I started off at C.R. Walker Senior High School, battling with distractions of life as a teenager at that time. And I actually ended up being a teenage mother.
Really?
Yes, sir. So I had to leave C.R. Walker eventually in the 11th grade.
Wow.
And then I went to Pace, and then I was enrolled back in school after I had my baby, and he was only 1 month old when I went back.
Seriously. Now, let's talk about obviously, because for a lot of girls, their fear is, Lord, I can't get pregnant in school because my life is over, my future's over.
Yes, sir.
What happened when you found out you were pregnant?
At first, I wasn't sure. And then I said, okay, I know there are changes in my body,
Right.
changes in my personality. It's not the same anymore. And then I was scared because I knew at home wasn't really the best.
Right.
We weren't all that fortunate enough to bring in a baby at that time for my mom. She was a single mother, and I had other siblings. And
So you knew that wasn't going to be the easiest situation.
Right, yes, sir.
When you found out you were pregnant, what came to mind for you?
So many things, because I was like, wow, how is the family gonna know this? Like finance, that was one of the biggest things on my mind, because I was like, I know people often say, you have a child young, you have a higher risk of living in poverty,
Right.
not being able to get a job, setbacks.
You heard all the stories.
Yes, sir.
What was the determining factor for you after you had to deal with your pregnancy that said, listen, I'm not going to give up. This is not the end for
Yes,
me?
sir. Well, I realized too that for one, me as a person, I love nice things. I love nice things, and and I've always wanted to be on top sometime in life. And I said, I cannot allow this situation to stop me from doing what I want to do. I said, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to make the best of everything, and regardless whether I would have went off or not, I would have still did my best to ensure that I came out successful.
Was that easy for you?
No, sir.
What were some of the challenges you faced?
Some of the challenges I faced was the first and main biggest challenge was criticism and discrimination, because there were people that, regardless of me trying to persevere from my situation, they didn't believe that I could. Even family, people that were close to me, I lost relationships,
Wow.
friendships, and it was all meant to be. Like, they weren't really meant to be there. And so I said, regardless of this, I'm going to still push. Going into CB Bethel, when I went there after Pace, I could recall just my second day there, everyone was, oh, this is the girl with the baby. They're pointing at me. Like, it was
Wow.
like a Lifetime movie. Everyone was pointing at me. This is the girl with the baby. And I was like, wow. I started to cry, and I was like, I'm not coming back here. And then two of my parents were like, don't give up. You already came this far. And I said, I have to continue and push on strong, ignore the naysayers. And then another challenge was the baby would have immunization clinic visits every month and what's not. So missing school, having to take him to them, and then having to come back and bring doctor slips and put up with the teachers and so forth and so on. It wasn't really easy.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
But you persevered.
Yes, sir.
And now look at you. You're the one in college, and many of them is right here sitting
sir.
home on scholarship.
Yes,
So
sir.
it was worth sticking to your plan to succeed.
Yes, sir.
And you did it primarily, like you said, because you wanted to have a better life
Yes.
for not only you, but for your
My
child.
child, yes, sir.
Let's say your story, Darren. What was your story of how you got to this place to be a successful student now going off to college?
Oh, okay. Well, I always had the mindset that I wanted to go to college. At first, I wanted to study law. And the reason I wanted to study law is because at first I just was like, I argue a lot. And I could argue pretty well. Maybe I'll take up law. But my major that I plan to study is actually now international business. I like anything with the business field. But I already had my mindset that this is what I wanted to do. And I already had the mindset that I want a scholarship and I'm going to get a scholarship, when you speaking things into existence. But at the same time, that's what I wanted. but I still had my own problem in terms of me. Like I had an attitude problem. So a lot of times teachers took it as like being disrespectful or being rude. And you know, when the teacher like doesn't like you that much, a lot of work doesn't get done. And I wasn't so much rebellious, but because I spoke my mind a lot, it came off the wrong way. But I always knew that this was something I wanted. This was something I'm going to work towards no matter what I have to do. By all legal and ethical means, I'm going to get where I need to be. But it wasn't easy getting there. Like in terms of when I was in junior high school, when I attended S.E. McPherson, I got into a lot of problems, like I said, I like to argue. That's not always a good thing. It'll probably be good for law. So I got into a lot of conflict, and that conflict turned in, it was distractions from my schoolwork, but I still made good grades. I was on the honor roll at the time. But I think a point in time in grade 8, about around that kind of time, I got a low GPA. It was low for me because I wasn't used to it. I got like a 2.7 something.
Wow.
And I wasn't used to that. I'm a 3-point student. I didn't think I had it all going on, but I knew I was better than this.
Right.
And the reason I got that low GPA was because at that point in time, I couldn't get any textbooks. So I was going to school, you know, the black and white books, but that was it. I still needed textbooks. I didn't have the textbooks. So when you didn't have the textbooks, a lot of the times the teachers put you out of class.
Really?
When the teachers put you out of class, that's like them saying, you're not coming back in here until you get a textbook. So that's like,
Why didn't you have the textbooks?
my parents didn't exactly have all the money. I
To
have
afford it?
3 sisters and I have a brother. So the money is getting split between all
Wow.
of us. So it's like, okay, if you need this right now, we have to hold off on
Wow.
my other sibling. Or if she need this, we have to hold off on you just for a moment.
And the school couldn't understand that and rationalize that,
The
you know,
school
that it's
didn't
expenses?
know.
Or they
The
didn't know?
school- I would just tell them like, okay, I'll get the book soon.
Right, but
Because
you didn't wanna
don't
tell
want-
them.
You don't want to tell people, like, you don't want to be vulnerable and tell people your business because
Right.
everybody doesn't necessarily mean you well. And especially in terms of a lot of kids, like, I wasn't afraid of getting bullied or anything because, like I said, I would row. So you ain't gonna try to bully me, but you didn't want people to know that kind of thing. Like I always tell myself, and my mother always tell me, you're not supposed to look like what you've been through. So if I have a problem, I probably could have told my teachers and be like, work with me, but I just didn't want them to know. So I was like, you know, we'll just hold off on it. And at the time, the money was coming in slow too because my mother, for a long period of time, she worked for herself in terms of cooking and baking pastries. But it was a point in time, I guess around that same time, she had an accident. She had a bad fall. So she had to do physical therapy. So my parents already have 5 kids to take care of, right? And we need books, we need school materials, we need all these stuff. And she has to pay for physical therapy as well. So
Wow.
it's like the money just coming so slow and going so quickly. So it was like I didn't have everything I needed. But when I tell you that this was something that I wanted and something that I needed,
Nothing was going to stop you from getting
was
it.
gonna stop me. So if I didn't have my own books, I had books with people name on it. You know what I'm saying? I borrowed my friends' books for my BJCs and I studied from their textbooks. Like I said before, I don't know how they passed.
I thought you were going to be the
because
lawyer.
I had their books.
I can't even try to get in to get a break in here. Let's pause right there. We're going to come back, and both these conversations are getting interesting. We're just getting started. We're going to be back after this break. You're watching Beyond the Headlines. And welcome back to the show. We're having an exciting discussion today. We're talking to the female scholars of the Public School Scholars Program, and it's been an exciting time talking to them. Such powerful stories. We've already heard from Adrienne Dantley. We've heard from Daranique Miller, and on joining them now is Shantique Miller. Welcome to the show. Shantanique, and I'm practicing it and still got it wrong. Shantanique. So Shantanique, we've been hearing the powerful stories of these young ladies. What is your story? How were you able to access this scholarship? What was your story of rising to this level?
Okay, well, I always wanted to go off to college because growing up in like primary school and stuff, I would always talk to my grandmother about college, but she passed away, and I made a promise to her before she died. I told her that I'm going to make it. I'm going to go off to college like she had planned. I may not have went to Canada like she wanted, but I went off to college. So that was how it all started. And once my grandmother passed, it's like, even though I made a promise to her, there was nobody really behind me to help me get to where I wanted to be. So I just carried on through school, and I got a scholarship to go off to a private junior high school. But what happened was the scholarship wasn't legit, so I didn't get it. So I went to school for like a couple months, and at the time they told me, oh, the scholarship, your name isn't on the scholarship. And I'm like, how, if I was told that my name was on the scholarship? So I was put out of Temple Christian High School. Well, I wasn't put out yet. I'm Bahamian, so I thought I could have beat the system. They was looking for me, but I would stand outside. They told me I couldn't be in their class.
Really?
So I told them, I'll say, okay, I could learn outside the class. So I stood by the window and learned.
You cannot be serious.
Yes, and then they got frustrated, and it's like, we don't want you on our campus at all. So I left the campus, and I didn't go back. And what happened was, during that time, I stayed home. And while staying home, I just thought, hey, there's no going back to school, because I didn't go to school for a little while. I just sitting down home, and it just felt like nothing was happening. Even though my mom would tell me, say, hey, I'm going to make sure you get back into school. It felt like, okay, I'm not going to go back to school because I still home.
Right.
And there's this, I'm in Girls Brigade, and our brothers are Boys Brigade. And he saw me, and he got me into T.A. Thompson Junior High School. And when he got me, and I was like so grateful because I'm back in school. I started off rocky because I wasn't in school, so my grade was low. I had like a 2 point. And I am not a 2 point student, 4 point student. So it's like a 2 point, okay, I got to get it together. But I got it together. And from T.A. Thompson, I went to C.C. Sweeting Senior High School. And I was offered a scholarship to go off to a private senior high school, but I say, they done fool me once, you can't fool me twice.
You learned your lesson.
I learned my lesson. I went to C.C. Sweeting Senior High School. And people would always think like, hey, she got it good, she making this good grade. There ain't nothing wrong with her, but nobody really knew my story. I would walk around the school with my head held high, because for some reason I felt like if I keep my head up, I would prevent the test from falling, because as soon as I put my head down, them tests starting to fall. So they would never understand. I had teachers tell me, oh, she thinks she's better than people. And then one thing told me, say, it's time you start sharing your story. And I still didn't feel like sharing my story with them, but at home it wasn't easy. My mom she wasn't working, she was unemployed. And my sisters and brothers, they was in school, but I mean, I was basically looking out for them. And with her being unemployed, we had no current, no water, no light.
Wow.
So we just was there. And what happened was, she told us, hey, seeing that she couldn't provide for us and she knew what I was going to do, she said she's going to let me live with a family member. And during the time living with the family member, it wasn't easy, because I figured, hey, that's my family, they can support me. But when I brought up the whole college idea, their words were, oh, you done struggling now, how you can make it over there?
Wow.
And I told him, I said, my God, I been far to leave me, so I will make it regardless. But it was just very negative. And then there was a remark made towards me, told me that the only way I'm making it in life is because I lay on my back. And I had to prove to them that, hey, no, I did not lay on my back. I made it because I'm that smart. And I talked to them about the scholarship and everything, and it just was negative. I had them coming at me, and it's at that time I went to the church. And I wouldn't say I'm a Christian. Not Christian, but I'm not saved, but I went to the church, and my faith started to grow, and because of them, I didn't count them as family anymore, because that was my family doing me like that. I started to call strangers family. So I went to the church, they supported me straight through, and once I got the scholarship, I shared the news with them, because that's family, you know, I'm gonna share my news with you, but they was like, oh, you still in senior high school, your mommy dropped out of school when she was pregnant, you can drop out of school too. So they was just negative. Everything I went to them with all the positive stuff, they just threw back a bunch of negative stuff at me. And I would practically say I did it on my own with the help of the church and other strangers. My family was like the support I would want them to be, but I just don't know. And when I finally got everything to go off, they kind of like was very rude, because it's like, oh, how you can pay for the plane ticket or whatever. But I'm a hustler. Everybody in CC know me. I never had like my me. I really appreciate my mommy, but not every day she could give me lunch money. So she would send me to school with no money. So I would go to the lunch program and sit down and wait on some food because she never wanted to put me on a lunch program because it was for children that really needed it.
Right.
So I would just sit down and wait on some food, and teachers would send me around campus and they would like offer me some food or stuff. But yeah, I made it. And for the ticket, I went around to my MP and I let him know, hey, I'm going off. I would really appreciate your assistance. I went to my church, they helped me. I just went around the neighborhood helping me. The family didn't help me. I wanted them to help me, but it was like they just was in there and it really hurt me. It was times whereby I just wanted to, I felt like nobody was there and suicidal thoughts took over me, like it took over. But I could say now, since I've went off, because of this scholarship program, I have not like thought about suicide. No more.
Let me ask you, ladies, because even when we're talking to the boys, they said it. For you, for success to come for you in college, did you need to have to go away so that you can get away from the environment that you were living in order to be successful? Was that important for you to do, to get out of this environment, to be able to succeed in school?
I would say for me, I needed to get out of that toxic environment because when I came out, I felt like when I was with them, I just felt broken and lost and always angry all the time. But now that I'm from them, I've grown a lot. Like my faith has grown so much. I walk around campus, they're like, how I say I'm walking my faith and not by sight. I'm going to make it.
Sure enough.
So my faith has grown a lot, and I have grown because I still talk to those family members, and I never thought that I could forgive them, but I look at them and I say, hey, it had to happen for me to go where I gotta go, so I forgive them.
What about you? I know it must be tough because your son is here.
Yes, sir.
So that must be tough having to be away in school and your son is here. How are you able to handle that?
That's the difficult part, is that making the sacrifice to go off, to do better for him. I feel like if I was meant to be here to schooling, I would have been here. Because I prayed to God all the time and I asked him, I said, if it's your will, let it be done. I didn't even think that I was even gonna get the scholarship. I was already preparing to go to UB, trying to find money to save up because I don't know how I was gonna pay.
Wow.
And I found out I got the scholarship and I was gonna go off. I said, you know, I love him. He's in good hands. He's with my mom and she's making the sacrifice to take care of him while I'm away. And I need to make the sacrifice to go off in a different environment to have a peace of mind, to get away from my past a little bit, you know, because being, you know, home, sort of like, you know, reminds you of, you know.
Of everything you've been through.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're off, it kind of like, everything's at a distance. You have a new state of mind. Everything's brand new. You just work towards your goal to ensure that you become successful to help your family back home.
All right, when we come back, we're going to wrap up. We're going to meet one more girl, and then we're going to wrap up and get their advice on the way forward. They can do it. I don't want to hear no excuse. You can do it too. We're back after this. And welcome back. We've been having an exciting discussion with these outstanding public school scholars who have gotten scholarships. Some of them already away in school for their success. Shantanique Miller, Adrienne Dantley, Darrenique Miller, and of course, we just added to the lot, Tamisha Knowles. Good to have you, Tamisha.
Glad to be here.
I'm just so excited for you because I knew Tamisha from when we did another show, The Youth Zone, on the other station. And it was just so good seeing you be able to have this opportunity to go off to school. Because I remember you talking about having opportunities and wanting to be able to get an opportunity to go off and not having the finances.
Yes,
and
sir.
to see you be able to do this is so outstanding. How did this happen for you?
Well, you know my story from the youth zone.
Yep.
Single parent home, you know, the typical kind of home structure that you find in the Bahamas. But I knew that with my career choice, especially being a musician in the Bahamas, music can't really appreciate it unless it's rake and scrape, soca, reggae, or something like that.
Because I remember when we did a show and we were talking about what people wanted to do. And you said you want to do music, and people were like, huh? How you gonna do music? Well, you can go to do music.
But you can do that.
Yeah,
for,
people
you know,
didn't
but
believe
you.
you.
Had no funds for that.
Right.
No, and I had no support. Even my family, I didn't have that much support. All I had was my mother. And at the time, you know, she's like, we need to get money. You know, we struggled all of our lives. You know, it's only me. I had to take care of you and your brothers. I had to take care of your sister. And it ain't making no sense going into music. You're a smart girl, be a doctor.
Wow.
So I tried being a doctor, you know. And I CB Bethel, I attended CB Bethel. In grade 10, I went into the academic science program. And I did the work, but I was unhappy. I was just, it just was not for me, and I felt that it wasn't for me.
Wow.
And I knew that my passion lied inside the music department. I would sneak out of classes sometimes. I apologize to say that that's where I was, in the music block. And I fell in love from I was younger because of my grandmother. After she passed, she said, Tamisha, whenever you open your mouth, people are gonna listen. And I know that my mouth was gonna be my tool for success. And I wasn't eligible for this scholarship, honestly.
Wow.
Because, I ever had a problem with sight from the youth zone, and I actually lost sight in my left eye.
Wow.
And after having surgery and going back to school in grade 12, my accumulatives dropped. And you have to have a 3-point, especially if you want to go into the arts, because, it's already the arts.
Right.
It's a risk as
Right.
it is. And I know that I had the passion for it. So when I went into my interview, I was already a little scared because I had Fireball Hinsey. I had to impress Miss Hinsey. You got to do something to impress her. And she was like, so what makes you so special? And I told her, I told her my story, and I told her my challenges and how I didn't have all of the support, but I know that I got involved into positive things like the youth zone, the National Youth Choir, and I know that being a part of these things, it showed me that I had the passion and that I was eligible, and that this is not just a game for me. Music is not a game for me. It's my life. And I know that if I'm going to invest in my life, I need the support of others. And my mom couldn't do it, so I need somebody to help me. And Miss Hinsey gave me this blessing, and when I got this, I just ran with it. I didn't know what else to do. All I could do was praise God. I ran to church and
Wow.
I sang, and I'm so glad to have this scholarship. I don't know.
What advice, girls, because I know we're running out of time, what advice do you give as young women to other women out there who say, well, my story discounts me, my story disqualifies me from being able to have this? What do you say to them?
I would say to them, tell your story, because I didn't want to tell my story because I was scared. But your story, it really opens doors for you. Like, you would be surprised to see how much doors your story is open for you. So just tell your story and walk by faith.
Adrian? I love that line. Walk by
Okay.
faith. That's been your line. I got that.
I would tell them, first off, life is not a destination, it's a journey. Where you are right now, the circumstances does not determine your future or where you will be in the years to come. So persevere, because perseverance is the key to your success.
Awesome. Tamisha.
I would tell them to stop looking at the problems and always think about the solutions. Don't think about what has already happened, but what you can do and what's going to come in the future if you persevere and you progress. And maybe you might not have the support, but if you believe in yourself and you have the mindset, you can get it done.
I know you don't, Mike, but quickly shout out what you think yours is.
What I would tell people is, if you have a story like mine where you don't have everything, but you have a goal, if you're going to work toward that goal, do it with everything you can, by all legal and ethical means. Get where you want to be, get where you need to be. Don't look back, always look forward. That's my advice.
Now, Tamisha, you got to end this off with a line. I feel a sing. I feel a sing. Give me a line. It's something that's inspiring, that comes to mind, that sums up all of this today. One
Today?
line.
There aren't even words to describe just how beautiful you are and all of your majesty. You continually provide for me, my sovereign God.
Now, sing that. So you got to sing that line for me, honey. Sing that line for me.
There aren't even words to describe just how great you are and all your majesty. You continually provide for me. You are the sovereign God.
Woo!
And you solve all my problems.
Definitely a problem solver. Ladies, thank you so much for telling us your inspiring story. All the best to you. Which universities are you in?
Central State.
Taylor University.
Ozarks.
And Central State.
Listen, all the best. We're going to see y'all at the top for graduation. Thank you so much. And that is our show. Coming up on the show tomorrow night, we've met the public school scholars. Now it's time to meet the STAR students. Who are they? Why are they called STAR students? Well, you'll have to join us tomorrow night to find out. We're continuing our series on education. That's our show so much. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. I'm Clint Watson. Good night.